there's something that Rodrigo said earlier that I just kind of want to come back to when he was talking about the original sin of after school is to conform, to be like, you know, the regular day, right? And so to kind of piggyback off that, I would kind of rework that, and I would say we need to recapture the original blessing of after school, is to bring what we have going on in these spaces to transform public education. And that's where I see a lot of opportunity, you know, especially as it relates to social and emotional learning and the collaborative of academic, social, emotional learning, CASEL, you know, that's moving forward. In particular, in the state of Illinois, you know, it's mandated through the Illinois State Board of Education that all schools have to teach social and emotional learning. And I would argue that, you know, if we want to look at best practices, especially in engaging urban youth and adolescent youth, we need to look at after school, right? And we need to see what's going on. We need to see, you know, how the arts is important in engaging young people holistically. We need to see how, you know, getting young people to go and do things and taking them to different spaces and places and learning how to think critically. Because there is no greater amount of evidence that's out there that says that you can help kids to do better academically than SEL. Say, okay, if we can build the social emotional competence, they will do better academically. So we need to take that, we need to all be DJs, and we need to take that research and remix that, because everything, and I didn't know that when I was doing stuff, hip-hop based education, you know, out of school and all this, I didn't know what we were doing was social and emotional learning. I didn't know what we were doing was positive youth development, taking a strength-based, student-centered approach that was holistic. I didn't know that until later on, right? And then just being able to connect some of these dots, it allows us, especially in this political climate, to, you know, protect ourselves and to begin to grow and to make a solid case. And I want to make just a quick distinction real quick between climate and culture. You know, I think climate is something, sometimes we kind of get the terms used, you know, we use them interchangeably. Climate is something that you could have, you know, Diego's the teacher, you're going to have a very different climate than if, you know, Mr. Smith down the hall is teaching in the classroom, right? So you have different climates in different spaces. But culture is something that's more overarching, it's more permanent, right? And policy definitely can influence the culture of a space, right? Culture is something that you could have 3 of the top leaders of a school leave or a district leave, but some of that same poisonous pedagogy perpetuates for generations. That's culture, right? And so what we need to begin to do is to look at it in terms of culture change. And since we've been talking about the golden era of hip-hop, I'm going to go there for a second. In 1965, just the precursor to hip-hop, when we had the civil rights, you know, legislation that went forward, it still was a lot of folks in the nation who were fighting, you know, this notion of integration and equality and all that. But the music and the culture made it cool. It was dancing in the streets. It was being able to sing the spirituals with folks. It was that beloved community that began to create a cultural shift that made it cool to be a part of this whole movement, right? And even in the early 90s, the golden era of hip-hop, it was cool for X-Clan and Wise Intelligent and De La Soul and brothers to be wearing African medallions and 5%ers doing the knowledge. And so you have brothers in Chicago and in New York and in LA who were doing research and understanding their roots and critically analyzing different policies. We know that culture can have a profound impact. And I'm so happy to see folks like Kendrick Lamar, Lupe Fiasco, big ups to folks in Chicago, Chance the Rapper. And I think that we're at this very amazing intersection where social and emotional learning and equity are starting to come together for the first time. And I think that there's a lot that this community here has to speak to that. One of the things that I realized as I was sitting in the back is that this is beloved community right here. This is culture-making community right here. You know what I mean? And part of the reason why I feel so charged up when I come to these spaces is like, wow, man, these are my people right here, you know? And so we can leverage that in the same way that, you know, Stevie Wonder and, folks did, and just like X-Clan did and Public Enemy in the early 90s, I think this is a critical moment. And sometimes we need crisis to be that precursor for an opportunity for tremendous growth, and I think we're right here.
Absolutely. I'd like to just talk to you every morning, first of all.
This could be my cousin right here. Wait a minute.